Do not skip Silverwolf. You will regret it, I promise. And I'm going to try and explain why. Okay? First of all, she's a quantum nihility debuffer. Okay, she applies debuffs to the enemy, so let's look at her talent. She can create one of 3 types of debuffs on an enemy. One that will reduce attack, defense, or speed. Every time she attacks, she has a 63% base chance to apply one of these debuffs. Her base chances got buffed right before launch, by the way. 63% base chance. Base chance is underlined, so let's take a look at it. The base chance of applying debuffs to the target, sure. The final probability is affected by the attacker's effect hit rate and enemy target's effect resistance. That right there tells you what your main stat is. Effect hit rate. So if we got 63% base chance, let's go look at my current effect hit rate. 38.3%. Okay, we're looking at 101.3% chance to apply one of those debuffs. Now that's not taking into account the enemy's effect resistance. So it is important to consider this, okay? Just because you get to, this much effect hit rate doesn't mean you should stop building it. You need to keep building it. And the reason is because boss enemies have up to 50% effect resistance, which means you would need roughly editor Rownin here, it would roughly be 90% for this basic attack to apply one of those 3 debuffs to a boss enemy. 60% effect hit rate, and then you will have like 100% uptime on applying these debuffs to even boss enemies. Okay, so I would still build effect hit rate. Not to mention, we apply 1 debuff here. Okay, let's go look at her skill. She has a 78% base chance here. With my 38, that's, 116 or whatever, to apply 1 weakness of an on-field ally's target to the target enemy. That is a second debuff. That counts as a debuff. This also reduces the enemy's damage resistance to that weakness type by 20%. That's 3 debuffs. In addition, down here, there's a 100% base chance to reduce all type resistance of the enemies further by 8.2% for 2 turns. That is 4 debuffs. Okay, meaning if you have a good enough effect hit rate, there's a 100% chance that you will apply 4 debuffs consistently. Now I do want to go over her light cone really quick. Her light cone increases her effect hit rate, which is how my effect hit rate is like up to 40%. Now, when the wearer deals damage to an enemy that currently has 3 or more debuffs, which is going to be all the time, she minimum applies 4. As long as you have a good enough effect hit rate, her crit rate will be increased by 12%. After the wearer uses their basic, skill, or ultimate attack, there's a 100% base chance to implant Aether Code on a random hit target that does not yet have it. Targets with Aether Code receive 12% increased damage. If you have this light cone, that is 5 debuffs every time you use a skill. Plus you're getting crit rate and increased damage on the target. This allows your team to destroy shit. Everybody should get this character. If you cannot get her light cone, it's okay. Because Hoyoverse gives you a free one and it's really good. You can go do the event, get this superimposition to level 5 like today, and your effect hit rate is increased just like her other light cone. And when the wearer's attacks defense reduced enemies, which is all the time, you regenerate 4 energy. Okay, so looking at this light cone, you then have to ask yourself, why do you want to regenerate energy? Well, let's go look at her. That's right, her ultimate. This is what she revolves around, really. There's an 89% base chance to decrease the target's enemy's defense by 38.7%. Okay, I only have it at level 4, so this could increase for 3 turns. Defense shred, basically, right? She shreds defense with her ultimate. So that right there tells you that you would also want energy regeneration, because the more uptime you have on her ultimate, the more damage you're dealing through defense shred. I'd like to look at one more thing. I just want to look at her eidolons. Obviously, her best ones are going to be 2, 4, 2, right? When the enemy enters battle, reduce their effect resistance by 20%. This would allow you to not have to build as much effect hit rate Obviously, that's really good. 4, after using her ultimate to attack enemies, deals additional quantum damage, up to 20% of Silverwolf's attack for every debuff currently on the enemy target. If you have 5 debuffs, this is 100% of her attack, right? This is it's a no-brainer. And this effect can be triggered for a maximum of 5 times. I just want to go over her E1 actually. I think it's a little underrated. And depending on how much you had saved up, even for a free-to-play player, maybe you can kind of squeeze it out. I don't know, but let's read it because I do think it's underrated. After using her ultimate to attack enemies, Silverwolf regenerates 7 energy for every debuff that the target enemy currently has. Now remember, if you have her light cone, you're consistently applying 5 debuffs with a skill, which means you use the ultimate on an enemy with 5 debuffs and you regenerate 35 energy. 35 energy. And what does that mean? That means more uptime on your defense shred ultimate. I think the E1 is way underrated. And what this allows you to do, if you get this, is it allows you to potentially not have to build so much energy regeneration and start focusing on stats like attack, crit rate, and crit damage. Which means she can just deal her own damage. She doesn't need to just be a debuffer for your team. She could be a debuffer for herself. And she's badass. She's a badass character. You guys should not skip her, in my opinion. You will regret it. Okay? And I didn't even bring up the fact that this makes the Forgotten Hall, this character makes the Forgotten Hall so much easier. It allows for so much more variety as far as a comp goes. Because maybe there's someone in the Forgotten Hall, an enemy, that you don't have a character for, like a weakness break. Guess what? Now you do. This is a really good character. I would not skip it if I were you guys. One more fact I would like to point out. I do think it is important that you try to build some speed on this character, because ideally you would want her to go first or second, probably first, obviously to apply her debuffs first, right? To apply some defense shred or whatever it is. Priority wise, I would say effect hit rate first, speed second, and then maybe some energy regeneration, which makes her feel like she needs a lot of stats. But again, if you have her first idol on, probably don't need to worry about energy regeneration. And if you have her light cone or even the free-to-play light cone, you only need to build so much effect hit rate, which then means you can start focusing on speed. Just some speed. You don't even need that much. And then just build her for damage, dude. And she's an awesome fucking unit. Don't skip her. Don't skip her.